Good evening, everybody. We will call the November 1st, 2022 meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Abel. Here. Dennison.
Here.
Rhodes.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
And Mayor Schooler.
Here. Okay, if you'll stand and join us, Councilmember Rose will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation led by Pastor Jerry of Gateway Assembly of God Church.
All right, put your hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, at the beginning of our council meeting tonight, we want to take a moment and pause and thank you for your goodness and for your blessing upon our great nation these many years. Lord, we know that America is facing many serious challenges and difficulties today. And I pray that we would turn to you and to your word to find the solutions for the things that we're facing. I thank you, Lord, for our awesome town, our great community. I thank you for our mayor, for our council members. I thank you for everyone who works for our town and serves us and just continues to provide such a great place to live. I pray your blessing upon each and every one of them tonight. I pray that you would also bless our sheriff's department, that you would watch over our deputies, that you would protect them and keep them safe as they work so hard to protect us and to keep us safe. Watch over our firefighters and keep them safe as well. Bless our first responders, our medical personnel, all the people that help make this a wonderful place. Lord, I pray that you would just give our council divine wisdom, understanding, and insight as they deal with issues and make decisions that affect all of us. And Lord, one more thing. I pray for the election just 1 week from tonight, that we will elect, that we will vote for the best candidates, the right people, that will lead us forward in this nation. Bless this meeting tonight, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we have a presentation. Town Manager, would you like to make that introduction?
I'd love to, Mayor, Council. We're privileged to have this evening an update on the Copper Mountain Community College. Dr. Darren Otten, Superintendent President, is going to give an update to the council and the community on things of interest and all things CMC. So, Dr. Otten, welcome, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you all. Wonderful to see everyone this evening, and really just always thrilled to get an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on over at the college. There's a lot of exciting things that we continue to be very proud of and things that we're working on. Recently, you may have seen some news that is super exciting about what is happening over at CMC for the spring term. And what we've got going on there very specifically is that utilizing some of our resources that the federal government provided for us, we've got a situation where we're able to support our students with no tuition or fees for the spring term. And that's for all students. And that's really an exciting opportunity. And really those funds are specifically designed to bring students who are impacted by the pandemic back to school. It's not every day, and frankly not in my career in over 20 years in education, have I ever seen a resource like this that has come forward to support those folks who've been impacted the most. At Copper Mountain College, the students that we lost during the pandemic came from often disproportionately and historically marginalized populations. They were often working parents. They were often folks who had other things that they had to deal with at home Many of them were caregivers or primary caretakers of a family member. And this is going to provide an opportunity to reduce one barrier. Not all barriers, but one barrier for those folks to return to school. And that's a huge, huge thing that we're excited about. So that is for the entire spring of 2023. But that's not the only thing that will help students go to school. And one of the things that you may be aware of peripherally is that Copper Mountain College also participates in what's called the California Promise. And the California Promise program provides an opportunity for all students who are first-time, full-time. And that second part is always the kind of barrier and part of why we're so excited about the first group of resources that we have to support students. But that second time of full-time, the majority of our students don't go full-time, but for those who do, who go first time, full time, let's say you graduate from Yucca Valley High School and you come to Copper Mountain College in the fall of 2023, your tuition and fees are also covered under the California Promise. And so that is an opportunity that, frankly, I ask all of you to share with folks that those resources, the cost associated with going to college, which we all know is one of the things that we read about all the time, is a big barrier. We've all heard about the student loan issues that are going on in the country and the challenges of the cost of education. Those are not barriers at CMC for students. And so we're very, very proud of that. To support those students, whether they are promised students or they're being supported by the resources we were provided by the federal government for the spring, we've also got zero cost to student tutoring across all subject areas. Got zero cost transportation. As you've all seen, Morongo Basin Transit Authority is rebranded recently, and we continue to partner with them associated with transportation for students. You have a student ID, you're able to ride the bus for nothing. We provide mental and medical health, telehealth services for students. These are all things that are absolutely barriers for folks to complete their education, start their education, pursue their education. And we're proud to support students in this wraparound way. For many of us, when we went to school, school was reading and writing and arithmetic, right? And what we've realized, specifically in the community that we serve, oftentimes things like food insecurity become a barrier. Mental health, physical health, transportation are all barriers. Technology, as you're all very aware, and as the last time I talked to you all, we've continued to have challenges. If you're a mile or two off Highway 62, the chances of you having high-speed internet at your home, limited. This is one thing I continue to ask you all to support as we look at things that are going on in Sacramento, and absolutely need to continue to advocate for communities such as ours to ensure access to high-speed broadband. As I mentioned a little bit about technology at Copper Mountain, we also have a loaner program. So for students who need a computer, we'll get you one, and it will allow you to continue your studies. And then you may have heard about some of the food insecurity things that we've done, including a food pantry of late, but the historical KC special for any student who's at Copper Mountain College and they need a meal. If they end up in Bruce's place, they'll get a meal. And so that is something that, again, we are very proud that we're able to support our students in that way. And really that's because of the community supporting CMC with the resources to be able to do those things. One of the other things I'd like to share a little bit as we transition on a couple of other things, the pandemic took a very dramatic enrollment decline across the California community college system. Throughout the state, the average enrollment decline was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25%. Copper Mountain College was no different and did see significant enrollment decline from pre-pandemic till now. And that we actually plateaued. We found the floor at about 20% pre-pandemic, but I'm really happy to say that we found that floor over the summer term. And for this fall term, we've actually seen a rebound. We're actually 8.1% up in total head count for the fall term. And we're 12.8% up in total enrollments. And what that really means is those students who are coming are taking more units. And so that's an important thing. We see that as a measure of progress for our students on a regular basis. And I would be remiss to note that we're actually doing that with about 5% less sections. So we're finding some efficiencies, which is really good on better enrollments, but that means the classes that we're offering are filling at higher levels. And so that's really pretty positive from that standpoint. You may have also seen we've scaled our dual enrollment program. And for those of you who aren't aware of dual enrollment, these are college-level courses that are taught on high school campuses at Yucca High School and at 29 Palms High School. Students earn both high school credit and college credit in those dual enrolled courses. They apply to degrees. And we are 20% higher today than we were a year ago in our dual enrollment at the K through 12 environment. And that's really in part to a very intentional partnership with MUSD, continuing investment there. And specifically, we hired a K through 12 liaison, and that K through 12 liaison is a counselor who specifically has hours supporting students at Yucca High, at 29 High, and at Black Rock as they look to enroll in courses at Copper Mountain College through that dual enrollment process. It's intrusive counseling, but there is no better way than having the people who do this stuff every day telling you on what you need to do to be able to enroll and ultimately find you the support that you need to be successful. We're very proud of several programs that we've started during the pandemic and continue to invest in. On the career technical education front, you may have heard we've started a wildland fire program. We've got a roughly 100% higher rate in that program, now having 2 cohorts graduate. We'll be starting a 3rd, and those are folks who are going to the U.S. Forest Service, who are going to the National Park Service, who are joining the fire programs all over the western U.S., and we know wildland firefighting and wildland fires are a year-round event now in California. And so we're very proud of that. We're also very proud of the fact that over the last couple of years we have scaled transfer degrees, and I want to talk a little bit about what those are in just a second, in business administration, biology, chemistry, physics, Spanish, hospitality, and we have 21 associate degrees for transfer. And what that really means is it's called a degree with a guarantee. You come to Copper Mountain College in one of those 21 degrees, 60 units, 2 years, you're guaranteed a spot in the California State University system in that program to then complete a bachelor's degree in another 2 years. These are very intentional transfer programs and transfer pathways. One of the challenges that we've all heard is, again, it takes too long to graduate, right? And so one of the things that we can do, and one of the things we are continuing to work on both as CMC as well as a system, is specifically to address these transfer opportunities and transfer pathways that ensure that units you take at CMC directly transfer and directly apply to a degree at CSU San Bernardino or CSU Sacramento or CSU Humboldt or wherever it is that you want to go. We're building a construction trades program. Just yesterday, at our curriculum committee, that curriculum was approved, and this next week we will be presenting that to the Board of Trustees at CMC, launching a trades program in partnership with the National Park and Morongo Unified School District, specifically looking to make sure that we can provide the skill sets that are needed for the local employers within the construction fields. We're very excited about this opportunity because we've all heard challenges of both finding recruits for employees, whatever field you're in, but the construction industry in particular has a very difficult time finding qualified individuals and retaining those employees. All I'm asking from those folks is that they consider CMC when they hire. I don't need to have them hire every graduate, but that's what I ask of everybody, is make sure you interview a CMC grad when you're looking to hire. Finally, tomorrow night is our last volleyball home game. Thank you, Mayor Schooler and Councilman Abel for being at a couple of volleyball games earlier this year. And we're excited that we've completed our second season of volleyball. Women's basketball tips off on November 11th, so that's Veterans Day. Men's basketball is on November 14th. We're really excited about this year's team. The men's team in particular has already been ranked in the top 20 in the state of California in the early season poll, so we should have a very competitive team. The Greenleaf Scholarship applications are just about open, and again, for those of you who are not aware of that, it is the most amazing gift that Roy Greenleaf left this community as an opportunity for students to go to school, frankly, all the way through a doctoral degree if they really played their cards right, and have everything covered. And we're not just talking fees and tuition and books. We're talking living expenses. And that includes places like UC Berkeley. And so if you are a Morongo Unified graduate, high school graduate, you are eligible to apply for the Greenleaf Scholarship. We're proud this year because this will be the first year we're going fully online with that application. We'll make some of the security things much easier to deal with, as well as hopefully streamline that screening process, but really make it more accessible for students to consider applying. Last two things I'll share with you is that Festival of Wreaths is on November 20th. And we've got an amazing opportunity to come see some of the things that we're doing for fundraising, see your community members. And then finally, this evening at 15 minutes ago through about 7:30, at the Bagley Room in the Greenleaf Library, we have the Day of the Dead art show that just opened this evening. Chloe Allred is our faculty member who's leading that, showcasing student art. And what's really exciting about this year, and you all probably are very aware of this, we all send holiday cards sometime, and this year CMC, instead of buying the stock stuff, we've partnered with the art department there at Copper Mountain College that our students are doing the art that will be on the holiday cards that I hope some of you will be seeing in your mailbox this season. So with that, that's really the brief update I have here at Copper Mountain College, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to share some of the exciting things that are happening.
Mayor, if I might just point out before you take questions for Dr. Otten, Board President Lombardo is here, and it's certainly your prerogative if you wish to bring her up for any comments that she might want to make on behalf of the board.
Well, we'd certainly invite Ms. Lombardo to come up. You're good. Okay. Okay, she's good. Well, thank you, Dr. Otten. That's a really encouraging report. And thank you for your leadership and positioning Copper Mountain College in the communities and throughout the basin. I know you make a lot of connections and pursue partnerships that are beneficial. And it seems like it's probably never been a greater opportunity to pursue a college education or get started on that if somebody's serious about it. So thank you for the report. Any other council members have any comments? Councilmember Lombardo.
Love your enthusiasm. I can see why you're so well loved at the college. That enthusiasm is greatly appreciated in our community, and the push for education is so important to so many of our community members, and it really does change your life for the better. And it's marvelous to see the college in your hands moving forward. And I think it's great that we're doing some of the vocational education things. I think they've been badly needed and have been attempted in the past or started and then never really gone to fruition. But we have an excellent nursing program that has a good reputation from long ago and is still continuing. And like you say, the wildland firefighters may be a new avenue for us to make a little dent in that educational area so that people think of coming to Copper Mountain College to get that degree. It can't be everywhere, I'm sure. So it's kind of nice that it's added here. And then the construction degree, I think, is really badly needed out here. As soon as we get this problem with the Joshua trees under control, we'll have a chance to see that go to work in a little more fullness. But thank you for all your efforts and keep up the good work. You're doing great.
Councilmember Abel.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to congratulate the board on hiring you years ago. They did a fantastic job with the search, and we're thrilled that you're here in our community. Again, I echo the enthusiasm, how you represent the college in just such a positive way is just fantastic. I also join you in being excited about some of the trade. My mother was an administrator for LA Trade Tech for a number of years, saw a lot of lives change, people from maybe low income or maybe no income type, being able to graduate with a very valuable degree that got them in the workplace right away and earning a very decent and wonderful salary. And as you know, I don't need to tell you, the age of contractors and the age group is getting to a point where we're having a shortage, and so there's a real need for that. So again, thank you so very much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight, and we appreciate the hospitality that we received when we came to the college. And if anyone in our community has not taken the time to go over and see the college, it is just a wonderful place to further education, and wonderful opportunities also to make donations towards the college, because every dollar is needed to help keep these programs going and keeping these students engaged. So thank you very much, and congratulations on the job well done.
And Councilmember Droz?
Dr. Otten, I just want to say thank you for everything. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that board member Lombardo's here. So that's great. Both of you are here. And I'm so glad that you're partnering with the high school. That's really so needed. And I'm so thrilled about the construction program. I know Brian is doing that, and he's perfect for it. So that's really exciting. And I just want to say Copper Mountain College is a really welcoming place for students and employees. So I just want to commend you on that. Thanks for doing a great job.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Otten, for being here. And one thing that I noticed in all of your discussion was that the students were the key point. And so thank you for keeping that in there. It was very well tied together. And just to kind of talk about, everyone's already mentioned it, but the construction program that you're talking about has been something that has been needed in the area for quite some time due to, as some of the other council members stated, you know, the transition that we have to have. It just normally we're kind of losing the balance out here, and it's not accelerating as fast as our area. It's developing quickly. Just clarification, you said something about the construction program and partnership with the park. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah,
How
so-
are they involved in construction to that degree?
Well, so I appreciate the question and an opportunity to clarify. So there's a couple of things here that are still very much kind of being worked through. Having said that, the park has had a priority of hiring local employees for some time. One of the challenges with hiring local employees when you're a federal employer is that oftentimes it's the first 50 people who apply, and that could be from anywhere in the United States, right? And so they oftentimes lose out on local candidates specifically for those positions. Through an internship program, you're able to actually bypass that particular mechanism, and it allows you as a local candidate who perhaps ends up with an internship at the park then not to have to go into the national pool when there's a job opening that comes up. So that's first and foremost the rationale for why we're trying to make this pathway happen. The second reason ultimately is a vision of a living lab. The park ultimately has a significant amount of ground to the east of Copper Mountain College in the Indian Cove area that's not really parky ground, but it's where they long-term see it potentially being their seasonal employee housing. We see that as a possible opportunity to be the lab that we utilize for teaching trades. And so we're continuing to explore that with the park, and it's very premature to have that conversation, but that's a long-term vision, and we've had that conversation now with several folks, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or whether it's the park, whether it's the base. We're continuing to look for those opportunities so that we can build real-world experiences for the students in the trades program. The final part, the park actually has several jobs that need mechanical and physical skills associated with construction trades around maintenance of just about everything. Now, they don't have a huge staff, and there's not a huge pile of opportunities, but the point is if you can get in there, there's actually an opportunity for those students who are interested in going national then to transfer to hundreds of other parks or other national agencies across the country.
So thank you for that, and great objectives. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks
you
again,
all for-
Dr. Otten.
appreciate
Good
it.
report. Thank you.
Well done.
Okay, we move along to the approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Dennison will second.
Do we have a second? Okay.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
and Mayor Schooler.
Yes. Move along to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda items should be filed with the town clerk. Does anybody in the public wish to comment on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any member of the council wish to do so? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Mayor, I'll second.
Councilmember Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
and Mayor Schooler.
Yes. Item number 5, under department reports, the Community Services Department update for fall and winter of 2022-23.
Yes, Mayor Schooler and council members, good evening. This is the Community Services Department update for fall/winter 22-23. The recommendation is that the town council receive and file the report. And we just want to take this opportunity to highlight the happenings for fall/winter. And in order to present that, we want to welcome up our museum program supervisor, Stephanie Ritter, and we also have our recreation coordinator, Jessica Kuna, here tonight. Welcome, Stephanie.
Well, hello, good evening, Mayor Schooler and Council. So before we go into the clicker. Oh, I have to do this. Right. We're going to give a short recap of summer because we had a very eventful and great summer, and so I don't know, I know that Curtis was over there and quite a few other staff members to see the Attack of the Bloodsuckers exhibit, which was our first interactive exhibit since COVID, so fully touchable, playable, and it was a very educational exhibit. So after having CMC here and talk about formal education, museum being an institution of informal education, this exhibit was amazing. It was all about parasites. I am very fond of parasites, so we had leeches there all summer long that I got to feed blood to, and I could put out all my kissing bugs I collected over the years, and it was rather amazing. So top right, you see a picture of what an exhibit like this looks like before it leaves the facility. So it was really huge, but it was amazing. The exhibit that just closed last week, Postcards for Mega, was probably one of our most popular grown-up exhibits. There's the story of two young women in the 20s and 30s that went out in the desert and take photographs that they sold as postcards. They had a 4T, they drove all over the place and were, made a living that way. And it was utterly amazing to see that exhibit. It was featured in the Desert Sun. And we had the grandson of one of the ladies come actually for a lecture, and he brought last week a whole field trip from down below. So everybody can see his grandma's photographs, and that exhibit was really, really thrilling. There's an amazing book, Go and Visit, that you could purchase if you're interested. But yeah, we had lots and lots of people coming up for this exhibit. The exhibit that's coming up next, I don't have a picture, but it's another one I'm going to be in love with because it's macro photography of insects. So, it's my thing. So everything that has more than 4 legs, I'm totally in love with. Or no legs, actually, for that matter. So just a short recap of all the education programs we've done from the summer on. We did our museum discovery kits again. We gave away 24 kits for each one of those programs, and I got to breed all kinds of invertebrates in the back room. I had caterpillars for moths, for butterflies. I had sawbugs, earthworms. I was in heaven, our registrar not so much. So she's really excited that that program is over. We had 2 chamber music concerts, one in June, one in October. The Shakespeare one, both of them sold out in person, and the Shakespeare one was really amazing. We had an actor there who read Shakespeare. It was pretty hilarious. We had an amazing family fun day, all about insects in here. We allowed children, we encouraged children and adults to eat insects. We were taken up on that quite a bit. They are delicious. It's all cultural. And we also had, in early October, a museum spotlight about desert astronomy. So we had 2 amazing speakers in the museum. And we were out on the ball field and looked through the telescope, actually got to see planets. No, not planets. We saw Saturn. What is a planet? We saw planets. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So what am I thinking? And we got a really good close-up of the moon. So we all got our cell phones in front of the telescope and got a close-up of the moon. So it was really good. So talking about education, the museum is still out there and producing lots of it, and we are actually going to hopefully have even more of it. Short upcoming exhibit in January is going to be Gadgets Galore. It's an exhibit that talks about items we used to have. And do you remember the items we used to have? There's probably quite a few of us here that think it's not been that long ago, but if you ask a 5-year-old and to dial a phone, they've never seen that. So it's going to be a really fun exhibit where we can dig stuff out of our collection and put it out there in front of people and see if they still know what these things are. We're also working on our succession plan. So we are actually welcoming a new staff member for the education museum programs coordinator, my position that I had 10 years ago and loved, because it's all about teaching. That person's going to start on the 15th, on the 28th now. Oh, okay, my excitement is still high. That means I have more time to fix the office. It's all good. And we're also looking forward to hiring my replacement. That job opening should be published early next year, so before I leave, my replacement is going to be in place. And I'm pretty sure the museum is going to go forward and keep educating people informally. So if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate.
Well, we could break at this point and see if we have any questions on the museum end of things. Anybody have that?
You say you're really in love with parasites, but
Yes.
you don't like to host them?
I'm pretty sure I have hosted a few over my lifetime, and it's always fascinating.
We've always loved your enthusiasm and the effort that you put into the museum to build it into something that has such a good reputation. It sheds a good light on Yucca Valley, and we really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for all the work at the museum. There's been a lot of changes in the last few years with your engagement over there. And yeah, like I used to say, my kids went there many times over the years, and it's important in the town, especially for the children, to see things, including bugs, and know that they're not all bad.
Oh, no, most of them are actually quite good.
In the parasite photograph, was that our local Robert in one of those pictures?
Yes. Of course. I mean, I kind of I had to force him to sit on the tick, but
Yeah. Good capture. Excellent photography. Thank you.
Member Droz?
Stephanie, thank you for everything you've done. I know you're going to be here for a little while still, but there is no replacing you. So, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll get someone that can fill your shoes somewhat. And yeah, all your bug stuff always creeps me out. That's all I have to say. So.
I have a mission there, Jeff. I have a mission.
I know, I could tell. Anyway, yeah, I bought some suckers with bugs in it for my grandkids and sent them to them, and yeah, I don't know what the reaction is yet, but anyway. But it made me think of you, so thanks a lot.
I love that. Thank you.
Stephanie, we're going to probably have this conversation again, the opportunity to wish you well, but you have been such a resource for the community on all things bugs over the years, identifying bugs, helping people out, as well as, you know, everything you do on the exhibit. So thank you for the report, and thank you for the work that you do.
You're welcome.
And we move on to Jessica.
Yes. Welcome, Jessica.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. So let me go down this slide real quick. So the holidays are a very busy time for the Recreation Department. As you can see, we recently completed our Halloween events, and we are currently prepping for our Veterans Tribute, Yucca Valley Film Festival, tree lighting ceremony, craft fair with snow play day, and Santa visits, along with the Letters to Santa program. We're also underway with our youth basketball registration and are planning for our spring softball and 2023 Healthy Hearts Run. So our enrichment classes are underway. We have a total of 13 classes right now, a little fewer than before COVID, but we are definitely rebounding from that. Youth Commission is nearly ready to launch. The applications closed today, so the group will be underway later this month. So our fall winter guide was published back in September. It contains information on our programming from October through March. 10,000 guides were published in total. As you can see here, they were distributed to the community through mass mailing, insertion in the local newspaper, and distributed through town offices and local businesses. And a digital flipbook is also available online. So these are just a few images of some of our upcoming events. The Veterans Tribute later in about 2 weeks, and our film festival, and then we launch into the rest of our holiday celebration activities. These are a few images from our senior Halloween party that was yesterday. Nina wasn't able to join us today, but she had over 100 seniors attend. They had a blast, and we had a magician and treats and raffles and all of that fun stuff. So those are a few pictures there. And then this last weekend, we had our Halloween fair, and it was a huge success. So we haven't done a final count on how many people, how many wristbands were signed out, but it looks to be around 1,600 that we signed out to people that day. Since COVID, our special events have really taken off, but it really seems that people want to get out there and have some fun. Our event had huge inflatable slides, carnival games, costume contests, and a scavenger hunt as well. So thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sue, do you have anything to wrap up with, or we go into questions for Jessica?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments?
You've indeed been very busy. The photographs were wonderful. It looks like you have a wide variety of activities for the community, and it's really adds a big dimension to the livability of the community when you have this many activities and things going on. And I know that it's very well appreciated, all the efforts that you're putting. The town council is very appreciative of all the efforts and the hard work it takes to put these things on, and we just really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Droz?
I just want to say thank you, Jessica. You've done a lot of great work here through the years, and
thank you.
It's incredible to see those pictures, all the things that are going on. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, Jessica, just like to say thank you. I have friends that have gotten a hold of me in the last couple, actually yesterday, they came by again for trick-or-treating, talking about the event.
Oh,
and
cool.
People were taking their children, their grandchildren, and with 1,600 wristbands possibly, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot of people for sure.
I'm sure it kept you very busy, and but it's very much worth it for the community, and thank you for all your work. That doesn't just happen. It's very, very engaging, so thanks.
Thank you.
And my thanks as well for what you do. I know a little bit about recreation programming and so forth, and I think we compare so well, with other communities much larger than ourselves. You look at the slides and the events, and even the program, the printed program, it's first-class stuff that we do at the museum and at recreation and at things. And just thank you. Keep up the good work. You're making us all look good, and the quality of life is enhanced in this community because of what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let me put a little plug in for, please keep encouraging the youth program, the youth commissioners.
Yes,
They play an
definitely.
important role in making our community vital for all ages, and let them know that their thoughts are important. And a lot of good things have come out of that youth commission.
Definitely.
And want to say thanks for the film festival too. It's way out of our league, and we really appreciate how wonderful the film festival is going to be this year.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Thanks, Sue. We'll move on to item number 6, investment portfolio update. May we have a staff report on that, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hopefully you can hear me on the screen here.
We can hear you fine.
Great. I'll go ahead and share my screen. It started. If I can share my screen, I will go ahead and click through the presentation that way. Make everyone. Right? Great. So I'll be going over the investment portfolio update year to date, which is exciting to say we have a full portfolio and not just a couple savings accounts. So hopefully this is as exciting as parasites and bugs. So just as a reminder, Town Council had a couple prior reviews for some of the investment updates that we've done this year. In June of 2022, we updated the investment policy for the town, made it a little more comprehensive and a little bit more all-encompassing according to what the California code requires. A few months after that, in September, we signed and approved a service agreement with Chandler Asset Management Group, which has helped guide town staff such as myself and Curtis to initiate this new portfolio that we have for you to review today and provide us the direction and also the actual transactions that will be occurring as we use their new portfolio strategy program. And then most recently, Town Council saw a quarterly treasurer's report, which would just be through September 30th, 2022 of this year. So it doesn't include those new investments, but it did have some updates from the LAIF and money market accounts that you see. So most recently, since those last updates, town staff initiated a deposit of $5 million of the town's investment reserves that were available to the Chandler Asset Management Group's guided portfolio strategy program. So that's made up of several long or short-term investment options that the town has available through Chandler. And with that, they have provided us an estimate year to date for a total annual returns of about $150,000 for that initial $5 million balance. All of these funds were deposited into a U.S. bank custodial account. So that's a third-party custodian that just adds an additional risk mitigation between the town and Chandler to make sure that those funds are kept in a safe account where we can have access to them and see up-to-date reporting at all times. We do plan on making additional deposits to the Chandler program over the next few months, definitely before year end. The biggest thing before we did that was for finance staff to do the year-end reporting, which you'll see at the next council meeting on November 15th, I believe. So we're finalizing the audit, and then we're calculating all of the additional reserves to make sure that we have exactly the right amounts that we want to put into that program. And then we will continue utilizing the state LAIF program, and then the money market account, which is the current savings account through Pacific Western Bank. Both of those accounts are fully liquid, which means that town, whenever needing to draw down on any savings funds, we can do that immediately within the day. So both of those will still be available as well. So I'll provide a few updates on the current investment returns that I just kind of briefly reviewed. This was the graph in the quarterly treasurer's report that you saw through September. So the orange, we don't usually have a department report on that report. It's just kind of a regular update, but just to kind of hone in on a few things so you could see a difference. The portfolio return is that orange line. So it kind of lags behind the treasury rates, which you see in the news pretty regularly that they're going kind of up and up all the time. And that's that blue line that kind of has that steep increase there. So you can see that the town's LAIF and money market kind of has a little bit of lag behind that as time goes on. Since that report, we made the deposit into the GPS portfolio of the $5 million. And that's broken up into a bunch of different types of notes and bonds, mostly treasury bills. So Chandler provides a lot of reports and graphics so we can see exactly where that money has been going. So as you can see here, 55% of that deposit went into treasury notes, and then they've broken down a few other different types that have higher returns on some items. Some are callable, so you can retrieve those funds at earlier rates or earlier than expected for that short-term investment. It kind of gives a little bit more of a diversified portfolio for the town. This is a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of those different types of investments that they've put together for us. And as you can see, I highlighted in that, hopefully you can see my mouse here. in that red box here, this is the estimated annual income based off of that $5 million deposit, as I mentioned. So they're estimating just under $160,000 of investment returns. That's ranging from 3 to a little over 5% in market rate for specific deposits that are in these groups here. I would say, based off of my estimates from the Life and Money Market account, if we were to move the rest of the funds that I'm estimating, you could see upwards of 200 to 300,000 in annual investment returns, which is probably double what you would have seen if we hadn't utilized this portfolio strategy. So this would be an updated graph that hopefully I'll be able to give you in January or February of next year. So you see that orange line kind of just shoots straight up, which is kind of what we were hoping to see for the potential portfolio returns. And it's going to kind of align more with the Treasury bill going forward. So we're going to be a little bit more competitive. This is just an example of the daily trade tickets that the town is able to see. So Chandler's doing kind of all the behind the scenes work for us, which is really, really helpful. But they give us kind of all the information on a day-to-day basis. So myself and finance staff and Curtis are able to log in and see all of this information at all times. I just wanted to highlight here, you see this yield that I've highlighted. This is just one trade ticket for the day for one of the transactions that Chandler did. That yield is estimated at 5.3%. And then another one from, can't see the date, I think it was October 31st. It's just under 5%. So again, quite a bit higher than what we've been seeing for our previous liquid accounts.
Yeah.
So for our next steps, as I mentioned, we're going to review the reserve levels available for the town at the November 15th council meeting. Once we have council's full transparency on where we're at for year end, which is really exciting, I think, we'll put together those additional deposits at the end of November and December, so we're utilizing those returns as quickly as possible. And then town staff will just monitor those results and provide you updates as regularly as we can. And then hopefully we'll have that quarterly treasurer's report with some positive returns for you in January 2023. This is just an example of the portal that we have available. As you can see, I made this report today, and the daily holdings and trade tickets from yesterday are already uploaded. So there's daily reports, there's monthly reports, there's quarterly reports. So I'm able to see so much information all the time. So that's really exciting. So the recommendation for town council is to receive and file on the investment portfolio update, and I can answer any questions that council or public may have.
Okay, Jordan, thank you for the report. Jordan, wherever you are, it was a great report, very encouraging. Does any council member have any comments? Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for comment. Start at this side if we're good. Okay.
I'm happy to see that we made that switch to this company, and I think that the wisdom of it is going to be borne out in the future here. It looks like we've already started on the right track at a very difficult time in the economy. So
Right. Pro Tem, anybody? Everybody good? Yeah. Okay, that's receive and file, so we will move on. Thank you, Jordan. We'll move
Good
on
job.
to item number 7, the townwide beautification program update. May we have a staff report on that, please?
Sure, Mayor, Council. This is an update of an initiative that's on your strategic plan. We're going to bring up a presentation. I don't even need that, her song. I'm just going to have you run through the slides here. So what we wanted to do is just highlight the initiatives that we've identified that council has already seen, provide you an update on a couple of them, and then I just have a couple of pictures that were submitted by council members and staff on some of the challenges that we have. So the ones I've identified here are not unfamiliar to the council, to the community. We've been pushing some of these action steps forward. The first one there on our shopping cart ordinance review, we didn't know exactly how we were going to address some of the challenges that we were having, but at the end of the day, I think we have a program right now that is going to work. If the stores aren't going to do it proactively, then we're going to ensure that we have the ability to take care of it, bill back to stores for that cost and that effort. But at the end of the day, the neighborhoods are kept clean of shopping carts, and that's our ultimate goal. And then as we go through that process, it may end up in some additional review of our ordinance or changes to it, depending on what the store's response are as we go forward. But for now, it seems to be working. The vendor we have is terrific, and we've made a difference in many of the different areas of the community. Second one there, town staff is underway with evaluating a couple of different options for replacement of some of our old county signs in a number of different places. Historically, we've done this kind of as budget allowed, and we've moved forward in certain sections or certain areas, neighborhoods over time. One of our thoughts now is it may be high time for us to take a look in doing it comprehensively in a more accelerated fashion. So we're looking at what that looks like. Likely will require some budgetary allocation from the council. We'll want to make sure that you know what that is, what that looks like, and how that program might be delivered in a more timely fashion. So that should be coming forward to the council in the next 90 days or so. Median maintenance, you'll recollect on one of your prior council agendas, the authorization of a contract with Mariposa Landscaping. We're super excited about that as a new vendor being able to provide service up here. We hope to have that contract fully executed soon and them underway with helping not only with our median maintenance, but some of our other landscaping needs as well, which will provide additional bandwidth, thankfully, for our staff. The last one there that I have highlighted is monumentation. Sue presented to you a couple weeks back some of the public art policy and program authorizations and approvals from the council. And that will be moving forward through both our PRCC and as well as through town staff on what we're looking at in terms of kind of our center of the town improvement on our highway beautification as well. So those efforts that I've highlighted are all either completed or underway, and you'll be seeing additional action steps on those moving forward. Some of the other ones listed there, 4, 6, and 7, then on the next page you can move ahead. Things that we continue to work toward addressing, and we'll be able to provide additional updates to the council over the next upcoming months. The next couple of slides I have were submitted to either myself by council members or were taken by staff. This one here is a couple weeks back on our town property on Elk. Just I highlighted just to show you the scope of what sometimes we're faced with. And then on top of this, you have certain requirements now that are in state law on if these are identified as homeless possessions, certain steps that we have to take in terms of identifying who they may belong to, how long we have to keep them, how long we have to quarantine them before we can go and make that cleanup effort. And then even when we are able to make the cleanup effort, quite frankly, when you get to that area and you start looking and seeing what's there, go back to that other slide before we move on. It's not a great place to be. There may be material, there may be things that are in there that are not safe for our own staff, for other staff, and so you have to take the steps to make sure that we clean it up, get rid of it in the right way. So as easy or as desirable as it would be just to say, hey, the next day it's going to be gone, there are sometimes steps that we need to take to make sure that it's done correctly and that our staff is taken care of in that process. The next couple of slides moving forward are just different places around town. You might recognize them. I think this one here is off of Warren Vista. This is courtesy of somebody just coming in and doing either dumping out of their truck or pulling things out of the desert. Go ahead and go through the next few here. Some more cart issues that we have. Next one. difficult because you don't often know where these come from. Even if you were able to identify the person in terms of criminal prosecution, likely not going to be cost effective, much more cost effective for us just to go in and do the cleanup, try and educate the community to what that means in making sure that we have a community that we all want to live in, and nobody wants to see this type of material around. I would say that we have a number of partners with us when we see this sometimes remains like this or dumping like this is indicative of people that are living in the area. We have the ability to reach out to our homeless providers, to the Sheriff's Hope team to make that engagement, try and identify where those folks are at. And then we have partners like Burtech, who just does an amazing job whenever we need them. They, without a moment's notice, will go once we know that it's just trash, not personal belongings, that they'll be happy to help us clean that up. And then lastly, we continue to seek additional vendors that can help with some of our abatement on properties as well. So just wanted to highlight those, give you an update on where we're at on some of our beautification. We know that that's a priority of the council, and that's an update for you this evening. Happy to answer other questions after public comment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Curtis. Does any member of the public wish to comment on any of these items here? Anything we saw? Seeing none, none online. Bring it back to the council for comment. Councilmember Abel.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to thank staff for being so aggressive with this timeline. I think we need to make adjustments, obviously, on it. But I do appreciate the work that's already been accomplished. We've already seen and gotten feedback from residents that they've noticed things are improving, especially with the shopping carts and so forth. Finding a vendor, which took some time and effort on our staff's part to find a good vendor for the beautification on the medians and also in front of our library and so forth. So on this calendar, on target dates, what would be the new updated dates? Because obviously they won't be able to be accomplished at this rate, and it's probably more feasible. Are we talking changing some of these to spring or 2023? So
I do have that. I apologize. This was not the updated sheet. So what I'll do is give you the updated sheets in your box. We do have
so they've been adjusted
dates
already?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I know the monument signs are underway, and that's going to take a while. I mean, my gosh, design and all that, it takes forever to do that. One of the things on beautification programs, again, thank you, staff. This is something that's really a priority with the council. But one thing I think we need to look into or add to it is landscaping plans. When a person, let's say the shopping center at Walmart or Dollar General proposes architectural design, they also propose landscaping designs, and they say a certain amount of trees, a certain amount of desert plants and so forth, and irrigation systems. And all that is approved by the planning department, and yet then we start to see deterioration where plants are dying, where weeds are coming up, and it doesn't look anything as what was promised. So I think that might be needed to be added on here, is getting some teeth behind holding major shopping centers, businesses. Dr. Lombardo owns a set of buildings in Yucca Valley, highly visible from the highway, and you could tell where he owns and how clean it is and pristine and nicely done. And right next door, identical building, it looks like it's abandoned and it looks terrible, and it doesn't take, you can hire a teenager to pull weeds. I mean, it's unexcusable for our businesses to let things go. So I would like to see perhaps landscape plans, enforcement, us targeting that, because that's beautification up and down the highway. And of course, it starts with our own town property. So if there's weeds on our own town property, obviously so many feet back from the highway, they need to be cleaned up and removed. I noticed next to Glen Realty, weeds all over the place by the big billboard. Then I drove down just 2 days ago, and the whole place is clean. And it's beautiful, and it just took somebody getting out there and pulling weeds and clearing. So I think landscaping and enforcement would be something that should tie along with this, because the medians can look beautiful again, but what about the edges? So I don't know what other council members think about that, or staff's willing to take that battle on, but I'm willing to really push for that, because I think it really does reflect poorly on our community.
Well, we appreciate those comments, and I think, excuse me, staff is well aware of that. We would also just want to ensure that the council and the public know that when we begin to take these steps on beautification, there's a range of tools that obviously the town has in order to have effective change. It's important that they're done equitably, and it's important that people know what standard we're asking for. And so just be aware that as we move in that direction, it's for the good of the community, it's for the good of the visual appearance of the community. But it's likely that the town will get some complaints about it. It's likely that the council is going to get complaints about it. Property owners don't like to be pushed oftentimes, and they will be pushed. And so whether it's weed abatement, whether it's signage, whether it's other inconsistencies with the town's development code, when we go down that road and we begin to take affirmative code enforcement action, code compliance action, we will get some pushback, and likely you'll get some pushback. But I think ultimately, if we can continue to convey the message that this is for the betterment of the community, the long-term desirability for our residents that have committed and more importantly have invested their savings here, and they're doing so for a very specific purpose, that we're trying to make that a reality. And so those were the other comments that I was just thinking about. So thank you for those comments, so Councilmember Abel.
You're welcome. And I was in the town business center over there in Monterey, and I was waiting for work that I was having done and evaluated, and I heard a code enforcement officer or a staff member, someone came in, they were cited for whatever the situation was, I wasn't quite sure, but then I also appreciated the young lady's sympathy for the person coming in trying to make things right. It sounded like they were property owners that were leasing out property. They weren't aware of the situation. They were made aware of it. But then I also heard her cooperating with them and stating, well, we appreciate you coming in. We appreciate your cooperation. We will work on maybe setting the fines off to the side and not enforcing those fines if we see immediate movement in the right direction. And I know that's how our town operates, that if there is a owner that is trying and making forth an effort, we give them every opportunity. It's not about being heavy-handed and laying down a fine, but where I get very short in my sympathy is when you have a major corporation that owns a shopping center and has a national brand, has a place here in town, and we can't get them to move quicker. It's just disheartening. And I won't go into specifics, but they have the money, and it's just they're not responding as quickly as they should. So I appreciate staff balancing, working with the with property owners and businesses. But again, thank you for looking into the landscaping plans and enforcing those.
Okay. Councilmember Lombardo?
Yeah, I agree with, it really makes a big difference in town when you get the property owners to cooperate. And my wife and I spent a lot of time, well, I can't say we spent a lot of time, but we physically ourselves went and made the property look nicer because we were bothered by the fact that the weeds were overgrown and just looked nasty. So taking a little pride in your property is a good thing, and it's something that makes Yucca Valley more livable when you can, glide down the street in your auto and you don't have to contend with all the bushes hanging out in the street and all the trash that collects in the weeds. So I think it's important that we set that example as a town, that we make sure that the things that we're responsible for are neat and clean and taken care of, which we do. Our parks are beautiful, and our employees are working extremely hard and diligently to keep the area looking good. And of course, we have these seasonal things where after the rainstorms, the weeds grow along the sides of the road, but we got to do what we can to maintain that under control, and I think we've done a pretty good job of it. But I think it's important that we talk to the property owners if we do find places that are being neglected, and it should be handled in a timely manner.
Mayor Pro Tem, anything?
Yeah, just a comment. Thank you very much to staff. I'm a resident, of course, live here in Yucca Valley and have for many years. And some of the programs staff has been able to implement and finally find the vendors that are doing the good work out there to help improve some of these issues that we've just talked about is not easy. And many times we continue to look quite a while to try and find someone that is responsible and also reliable. One of the things is the abatement of graffiti. We've always done that already. We still continue to know that it exists. We get notifications from the public, from the Sheriff's Department, from staff themselves, and those are mitigated timely, and I appreciate that continuing. The other one is I'm still looking, and we have it as a future item, is the wind blow and trash reduction. I believe that our partnership with Vertec has been great in that. They understand the issues. With their new location is really going to make a difference for us as being an enclosed transfer station. So I'm excited to see those two things move forward because Yucca Valley does get its seasonal wind. It's coming upon us right now, and everybody sees a plastic bush inside of a cat claw and you just can't get it out. And it kind of sits there for years sometimes. So I usually reach my arm in because it bothers me so much, and I find out why it's called a cat claw. But thanks for that. The other part was talking about dealing with some of the homeless or those that hoard in some ways the town. Can you talk a little bit about or remind me about how we do that collection? Do we have a storage area that we are able to be responsive in the relocation of those items?
Yeah, so recently we've identified a specific area at our yard facility that we will put certain things aside that we're required to. We don't want to keep them any longer than we need to by law, but we'll identify them. We have specific notification efforts that either through engagement with the individuals, if we're able to make engagement with those folks that are out there on that certain parcel, or through written notification that identifies where their possessions may be held. So that's being done in compliance with state law.
All right, well, thank you for that. And I appreciate still continuing the Sheriff's Department and their HOPE program to continue to help those out in this area that could use those services and those leads for assistance that they have and that they can get, from your program. So thank you for that, and that's all.
Okay, and I'm happy that we're even addressing this, that we've got the list of priorities, that we've gotten this far, and for staff's progress on these issues that you've highlighted tonight. I think we're on the right track. I totally agree with Councilmember Abel's comments. If these properties are that noticeable, that means a lot of the rest of the community is doing the job and taking pride in their highway frontage and the weeds. But it just sticks out when we have somebody that doesn't seem to care about the weeds. It reflects on the rest of the community, and I think to the extent that we can put in a landscape plan, that we can hold business owners accountable to it, not being heavy-handed, but working with them to get good appearance for our community. I think that's all of our benefits. So thank you for the work on that. Thank you for the progress so far, and I look forward to the rest of that. So with that, we'll conclude that conversation and move on to future agenda items. I would like to suggest one, and that would be maybe a report or update or a look at affordable housing and the opportunities that we might have ahead of us, and the long-range and short-range planning that goes into creating affordable housing. We've kind of been around and visited with several seniors, especially in our Coffee with the Mayor sessions, and most recently we were up at the Dumosa Village complex here and found that people really appreciate living there, but there is a waiting list for some of the units up to 5 years, and yeah, there's a real need, and I think to the extent that we can at least start the process, I know it doesn't happen overnight, but we should be looking at that. So I'd like to suggest an affordable housing conversation on a future agenda item.
I would definitely agree with that. That's definitely needed. And we've seen what's happened with rents. We've seen what's happened with home prices. We've seen that those that have the least amount of financial resources, our senior citizens, are in need, and it would be tragic to see them homeless or see them without safe, adequate housing. So I would agree. I think affordable housing should be something we're really starting to look into seriously, not just talk about it.
We have consensus on that item?
Yeah, as part of that discussion, I'd like to mention these mini houses that are going up in a lot of places to give people either on a limited income or the first-time home owner a chance to own something that's appropriate in size. And of course, you can move up out of that I think these things are being utilized in a lot of different parts of our country as a means to help house the low income and make it affordable as a place to live. And some of the regulations and rules need to be tweaked a little bit to make it happen. There are sometimes minimum sizes and certain requirements that make them not economically feasible that may need to be looked at in order to tweak slightly so that they're still safe, but can be adjusted to be more affordable.
Okay,
So I'd
thank
be
you. So we
happy to
do
talk about that,
have
too. I think it's
consensus to put this on a
Definitely.
future agenda item. So we just appreciate at least a general conversation on what our opportunities are at this point. Any other agenda items for future agendas come to mind? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comments. The Town Council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the printed agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The Town Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not on the printed agenda. Does anybody anybody in the public? Do we
Mayor,
have
I have a request to speak from Ariana.
Okay, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Rihanna Nordland, and I am from Joshua Tree, California. So I was born in 29 Palms Marine Base. I graduated from Yucca Valley High School in 2013, obtained my associate's degree from Copper Mountain College in 2016, my bachelor's in social work in 2020, and soon I will be graduating with my master's in social work in 2023. So 2 words that I would describe my life are resilience and perseverance. This is partly because I was born with a condition called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, which affected the development of my joints and muscles in utero. This occurs in 1 in 3,000 infants born. I received physical and occupational therapy within the community until I was 16 years old and had 9 orthopedic surgeries to try to repair my joints. This condition has limited my ability to drive a car without adaptions, which are very expensive and not something that I'm able to supply myself as a student at the moment. Many of you may know me from school or have seen me out in the community. What you may not know about me is that I have a huge heart and passion for helping others. Therefore, I chose social work, both through my education in social work and through my lived experiences as a person with a disability. I am no stranger to having to look for resources to solve obstacles in people's lives. And personally, one obstacle that keeps coming up for me involves our public transportation. If you do not live along the highway or within city limits, public transportation may become an issue for you, as it has been for me. This is why I'm here. Previously, I have adapted to this by relying on family for rides, and this has worked thus far. However, as I am developing my career and growing my responsibilities, I am in need of more independence. From my home, it is a 2-mile walk to the nearest bus station. Even for someone with fully functioning knees, that is a long walk. However, for me, it's unbearable long due to limited range of motion in my knees. Currently, I am interning for Painted Brain, a nonprofit that facilitates social art groups for individuals who deal with mental health struggles, homelessness, and incarceration to create a non-judgmental community atmosphere. In order to fulfill my internship duties, I need to utilize our public transportation system. Although Ready Ride is a great resource for individuals who deal with vast variety of disabilities in the community, it is very restrictive for people with disabilities who are trying to work. An example of this restrictiveness includes no cross-town transportation, which then requires the traveler to communicate with each town separately. Also, due to the limited hours in which they operate, an individual may find themselves stranded without access to transportation if they plan on traveling past the morning operation hours. Lastly, they only run during the weekdays. I'm sure that for our people with disabilities in the community, this fulfills their needs. However, it does not address the entire community. I firmly believe that people with disabilities should be able to freely explore their community. By limiting people with disabilities from exploring the community or restricting the times that they can use public transportation, our community is missing a portion of untapped financial revenue and social connection. Through a lack of access to public transportation, we are isolating individuals from participating and contributing to the community. People with disabilities should not have to leave our community to access better resources. Some suggestions to look into could be a look at how access buses that run in San Bernardino City and LA County to be more open accessibility beyond the limited hours of Ready Ride. Another idea would be to invite more Lyft and Uber drivers to the area that are accessible as well. I am very open to working with you all to come up with solutions. Personally, the current options for public transportation severely limit the available resources that I would be able to provide the community as a social worker. I am willing to partner with City Council to research new solutions, give my perspective, and provide guidance on a matter as a person with a disability. I urge you to deem this an important community issue, and I hope that you do, and I hope that my story opens your eyes to an unsolved community problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will get your information, and if there's any future discussion, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Have you, can I ask a question? Have you contacted Basin Transit Authority with your concerns?
No, I have not.
Okay. Councilmember Drodes and I are on that board.
Okay.
And we would like to get your information so we can have the general manager speak to you.
Okay.
And see about what alternatives or what your needs are and see if we can meet those. We have a lot of what's called unmet needs, monies and so forth. And so we'd be glad to try to solve your issue because it sounds like you're really trying to improve your life. And I'm sure if you're in that boat, other people are as well. So please, if you don't mind, stick around a little bit so we can get that information.
Okay.
And then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Anybody? Okay, seeing none, we'll come back for staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to have your last election update with the town clerk in just a minute, but I'll start with the Captain. You have anything for us this evening, Captain?
Briefly, two things. First is Halloween last night went off without a law enforcement hitch. We're very grateful to the residents and those who chose to visit the town with that many kids walking around and people out and about in their yards celebrating. It's very nice to not have anything significant to report, and that's definitely a reflection on the people who live and visit here, so thank you very much. Secondly, last Friday we did have an unfortunate event down at Yucca Valley High School. Big potential fight led to some students contacting adults away from campus who arrived at the campus. Things escalated very quickly. Our entire shift ended up over at Yucca Valley High School. Ultimately, a decision was made to cancel a big rivalry football game between 29 Palms High School and Yucca Valley High School, which was very disappointing, not only for the athletes who look forward to that game and work so hard, but the community members who wanted to enjoy it as well. So without getting into the details of the events, I just think it's important to note to council and to the public that the Sheriff's Department has been and continues to work with the school district. As recently as today, I met with Superintendent Dr. Vargas. We had a good conversation about some good strategies for how to move forward and work together and do our best to make sure that the students feel safe, that the parents leaving their children at the school, whether it's an elementary, middle, or the high school, that they can have peace of mind that their kids have a good learning environment. And those conversations are taking place. So there's a big event, and sometimes the public and the council and don't always understand the aftermath. But I think it's important to note that this is being taken very seriously, and we'll continue to meet and make things better.
Thank you for that, Captain. Along those lines, I do have the opportunity to meet with Dr. Vargas, I think, next week, so those conversations will continue on many different levels. Sue or Deborah, you have anything today?
Just a friendly reminder to change your clocks this weekend. That daylight saving time ends, so.
All forward, right?
We have some great activities coming up as the staff illustrated. We have our Veterans Tribute coming up on November 11th, and that also is the night that we kick off the Yucca Valley Film Festival. The full program has been published today, yay, for the Yucca Valley Film Festival, so we encourage everyone to go to yuccavalleyfilmfestival.com. 72 movies, 15 countries represented, over a dozen local talents. And so it's just going to be super. We're so happy to have it back in person.
Shane, you have anything? All right. Brooke, you want to give your update? This is our last one for the election season for 2022.
Hello, council members. I have a short clip to play.
The November 8th general election is near, and there are 4 easy ways to vote. Mail your voted ballot in the envelope provided. Take your ballot to a secure mail ballot drop-off location. Visit an early vote site and cast your mail ballot, or go to a polling place to vote in person or on November 8th. For more information, visit sbcountyelections.com.
And just a reminder, we do have a drop-off location in front of Town Hall. And for more information on Measure K or the November 8th election, you can visit the town's website, and that is www.yucca-valley.org.
One last comment. We appreciate Dr. Otten coming out this evening, and he was referring to many of the students that come through Copper Mountain College, make great resources for all of the employers in this basin, and the town is one of those employers also. So I think next council meeting you'll have an opportunity to meet one of our newest team members joining us in our finance department that has a connection to CMC as well, so we'll be able to highlight that. So I just wanted to, I thought that was timely for this evening. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council member reports and comments. Councilmember Abel.
Yes, I'll be leaving after tonight's meeting to head to San Diego for a 2-day conference for air quality. So it's a large conference down in San Diego, so I'm looking forward to learning more about our air quality and the issues involved with that. Regulations continue to come down from the federal government, and sometimes the federal government's standards are not aligned with what's going on in certain communities. It's sort of a blanket statement and so forth. So there's some work going back and forth between federal government and local government as far as air quality, and it's an important issue, and so we'll be getting updates on that. I thank the captain for addressing the issue of school safety here in Yucca Valley. I am too very concerned about school safety. I was a teacher for both private and public schools for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I did work in the La Mirada Norwalk School District, where this new superintendent is from. What I'm mainly concerned is the sort of false and misleading statements from the district, stating that it was law enforcement making the call on canceling the game. That's not law enforcement's job to cancel a game. They can give information on risks and background, and it's up to the school district. So to use the media and blaming law enforcement for canceling a rivalry game is misleading, and I don't think that's appropriate. So hopefully we will be talking to the superintendent of schools. Also, another misleading statement that they made was that the game was going to be rescheduled, which they knew it was the last game of the season. They didn't want to use the word canceled. So using the media to put out false narratives was sort of disappointing. School safety is a priority. Parental rights is a priority. Having open dialogue between the school district and the parents and the community, making sure we have a good educational environment is important. We here at the town of Yucca Valley, want to encourage people to come and live, work, stay here, and our schools need to reflect a good place for people to raise children. So I have a lot of concerns, and I'm hoping that the superintendent will come before the council and update us on school safety and what their plans are. I know that they will take it very seriously, any threats, and I know they'll work with law enforcement, and I have confidence that whatever bugs, whatever policies they have that have led to so many fights, so many disruptions to the educational process will be handled. I'm looking forward to hearing about the solutions. I want to support the school district in those solutions. The town council already supports our school district by funding monies for a public and a school resource officer. When a lot of school districts pay for their own law enforcement officers to be there, our council felt it was important for our students to be feeling safe, and also for the adults that are working there to be safe as well. So we put forth quite a bit of money each and every year for helping with school safety. And it's sort of crazy to have the entire Morongo station over at the high school for several hours because of something that got out of hand. And I appreciate the law enforcement officers taking it seriously. We've seen a lot of problems with public schools and safety issues. And again, I'd like to hear the superintendent giving us updates on lockdowns, staff training, locks, things that would make the school more a safer environment. And our students deserve better. So again, thank you for addressing that issue, and I'm looking forward to having our superintendent come and visit us. So any misunderstandings or any things that they're working on will be forthcoming. I appreciate if they would be transparent with the adults and parents, because otherwise you're going to have mass exodus from our school district, which would be a real shame, because we got a lot of dedicated, hardworking staff members and administrators that have put a whole life's worth of work there. And they need to feel safe at work, and the kids that are there wanting to learn need to have a safe, undisturbed environment so they can learn and so forth. So thank you, Captain, for addressing that tonight, and thank you that we have a dialogue with our new superintendent. Norwalk area is not the, it has its own challenges, and so he's probably familiar with some disruptions on campus. So hopefully this new superintendent can get a handle on this and get us moving in the right direction. No other comments tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Droz.
How do I follow that? Ditto, though. I agree with you. Anyway, I want to thank Community Services. They always impress me. So Susan and Stephanie and Jessica, thanks for all you do. It's like you always exceed any expectations I could think of. I can't believe how incredible all the work that you do. And I want to also thank the captain, because he does a lot of great stuff, and I want to thank him and his team for all the work they do. So I'll just leave it at that. And Deborah, I refuse to change my clock. So either next meeting I'll be either early or late. I don't know. Spring forward, fall back. Yeah. So whatever way it goes. Anyway, thanks. Have a great week. 2 weeks.
Councilmember Lombardo.
I'm returning from a trip. Been gone the last 3 weeks. It looks like there was a lot that happened while I was away. It's always good to be back home, and the town has been in good hands, I can see. Lots of activities. I'm looking forward to the film festival that's happening on the 11th, and the Veterans Tribute. It's kind of neat that they coincide. It'll be a busy day. Please stay involved in your community. It makes it a better place. I want to thank the public for coming and bringing our attention to the problems that they're having with transportation. We definitely want to hear in an open manner what concerns our citizens, so that we can discuss it and find answers and solutions. We really appreciate you coming and being brave enough to speak in front of the public. It's not something that everybody likes to do, but it's necessary for us to hear it so that we can take action on it in the future. Always feel free to come and talk with us. And I'm concerned too about what was going on at the school, and I hope it's handled in an open and honest manner so that we can all see what's going on. In the past, there was a little problem where the parents were not feeling that they were being heard by the school district, and so there was a lot of tension there. I think that I don't know how that played into what happened, but it's very important that our school district is open, honest, and straightforward with us and with the community. And I hope that whatever the problem was gets resolved here soon. We have always gotten along very well, and we have a really remarkable community in a lot of respects because of the way we treat each other. Being desert dwellers, you kind of need to count on your neighbors because you're a long ways from anything, and sometimes just a cup of water could be a lifesaver. So we want to treat each other with respect, and I know that we have it in our capabilities to do that. And we thank you for the protection of our sheriff and our police force here in town is respectful of the citizens, and we do want to solve the problem in an open way. So keep up the good work. Thank you. And I'll be back engaged, hopefully.
Well, welcome back.
Had a wonderful time. I learned a lot of interesting things that I hope to bring to the town manager's attention, and maybe there's some things that will derive from these trips. I always find it fun to travel to other places and capture ideas of what they're doing and see how it applies to Yucca Valley. And I was in Germany. My daughter got married, and my new in-laws are the town manager of a small town called Memmington in Germany, and it is about twice the size of Yucca Valley. It has a rich history that goes way back into 1400s and before that. It's a central Germany town in a forested area, and it's just beautiful. And they're building a pool project similar to ours. When I walked into the mayor's office and saw it laying on the table, I thought that they had stolen our plans, but it was twice as big and had more pools. And I was going, but it looked really pretty. And they were using similar materials, so I think we're right on the cutting edge of all the stuff happening. I saw some other things that I'll mention in the future, but it was, well, maybe I should mention it now. If we got a little time, doesn't matter, does it? We went for a nature walk in this one part along this river. And in the distance, you could see this gorgeous waterfall. And so you walk on this trail to get close to the waterfall. And as you get close to the waterfall, they have this rather large platform with these really interesting wooden benches that are contoured for your body, so you can sit in a reclined position very comfortably with your feet slightly raised, and you just stare at this waterfall. And all the mist from the waterfall comes off and kind of gets you just a little moist. And it wasn't a warm day. It was cool, but you could feel the mist. And then I go and read the little landmark sign that's right near the waterfall, and it says that the waterfall is known to have this beneficial effect as you breathe in the mist, because the ions are negatively charged and the particles of water are so small that they're absorbed into your lungs, and it helps to purify your body from all sorts of impurities and stuff, and it's actually medically shown to be healthful and improves things like asthma and reduces stress and other things. And so they were touting the benefits of going on nature walks and sitting in front of this waterfall for an hour and absorbing the moisture and how healthful it was. And I thought that was really unique. And I think that we could adapt something like that for star watching and how stress relieving that is on the dark nights that we have. Some of these contoured benches in one of our parks somewhere would be really a delight, where the community could gather and do stargazing, or when we have the meteor showers in August. It would be really kind of fun. So a little divergent, sorry, but it was fun. I'm really enjoyed traveling.
Well, thank you and welcome back. And I'm interested to see what they call that swim complex that they have. Do they have a name for it? Never mind. But you did look right at home in those photos I saw of you at the city manager's desk in Germany.
Oh man, they have a beautiful setup, I'll tell you. We dare not build one like that here.
I'd like to say the city manager looks like Curtis.
Okay, we'll move on.
Similar.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennison.
Stargazing lounge, that sounds interesting.
He's called the Herr Obermeister. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Tonight, I just wanted to thank Dr. Otten for coming out. The college is a big piece of our educational system that's been built out here. And there was a lot of discussion. I agree with the former comments about our local school district and the items that they need to address and the plans that need to be developed or disseminated so everyone else is kind of playing on the same page. So with that, Stephanie, that was just great. You know, her parasites and bugs and stuff are a little bit different. I don't think Jeff is very excited about that, but her enthusiasm is great, and I appreciate the update and the briefing, and Jessica too for all the work that's going on. It was just amazing. Last night there were lots of trick-or-treaters that came by. I ate a lot of candy. They got a lot of candy. It was really a nice night, but a lot of them spoke of this event here and how fun it was because they had a few days to get decorated, and thank you for all the work of getting that project out there. I was mentioning earlier to some others about the storms we've had recently and the things we have to overcome. And the crews out there in the community, taking care of the parks, the flooding, the roads, filling in giant holes that were created, moving tons of dirt. They're out there every day. I see them and I pay attention and I'm very appreciative. So when you're out there driving in our community, make sure that you take a moment. When you see that heavy equipment, those loaders and those dump trucks, take a moment, slow down. They can't react as quick as you can. And they're doing a good job and they're getting caught up, and hopefully we get a break from storms for a bit. But if we're not that lucky, I know that they're there to continue to do the hard work. And the last thing is just on the 11th this month, as always, November 11th is Veterans Day. And here in Yucca Valley, we have the opportunity to host that day and to pay tribute to all of our veterans that are in this area and throughout the country. And that'll be from 10 to 1 right here at Yucca Valley Community Center. And that's all.
Okay, similar comments from me. Thank you to Dr. Otten. Again, I am impressed with his outreach to the community and partnering with the community, and really appreciate his report this evening. The film festival coming up, Matt Burwa was in the room tonight, and we had the chance to interview him for the latest podcast. If you haven't heard that, you can dial into that, but it's really good to hear his passion for this community and his story too about coming from France, landing here, choosing this as a place to live, and his expertise on film festivals and all things related is really impressive. So we really have a gem in this guy and this event coming up the 11th, 12th, and 13th of this month. Excuse me. And the Veterans Tribute is also near and dear to my heart. I totally appreciate the veterans in this community. I am a veteran, my son's a veteran, excuse me, and I'm just so glad that we can take this time to honor our veterans. Excuse me. Coffee with the Mayor events, we still do that the first and third, excuse me, Tuesday of each month. And it goes well. If anyone hasn't come to those, it's a great sharing of information, not only about the town, excuse me, but the community resources, the folks that show up and share what they have to offer to the community. I see a couple of members in the audience today that frequent those, and we appreciate you both for coming to the meeting, but also to the Coffee with the Mayor events. And we are taking that to the mobile home parks and the Dumosa Village Center, and we're getting a lot of good input from the community. And a lot of what we do is share about the community services, events, and activities, and we give out the guides, and nothing but positive feedback from the community on that. So it's a good opportunity for us to get out in the community, and the feedback's good, the input's great. So first and third Tuesdays, we meet at Hawks Landing at 8 a.m., and everybody is welcome to attend that. I look forward to the superintendent. I'm killing this, yeah, thank you.
Maybe make it worse.
I'll gargle now. The school superintendent coming to give a report here. I look forward to that. We have some issues that we'd like to get some clarity on. And Rihanna, thank you for your comments tonight. I think we've heard several issues recently about public transportation. We have some recommendations, suggestions, but look forward to finding some solutions. So thank you for that. We'll move on to our announcements. The next meeting, regular meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council, will be held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Yucca Valley Community Center Yucca Room. We will be adjourning to closed session, which is the public employee performance evaluation of the town attorney. And so we'll be adjourning to that at this point. So thank you so much.